What's up guys, Petko here. Today we're going to talk about something very important that you guys have been requested for a long time, and it's actually kind of a follow-up to the raid guide. It's going to be how to actually execute your rotation in raid. I'm going to show you both POVs with Ice Fury and without Ice Fury, and the priority of how I usually open, how I sustain my single target, and how I burst. So without further ado, let's begin. Now first thing, I'm going to show you Ice Fury build because I believe this is one of the more complex builds in raiding. I believe it's one of the hardest builds to play ever. Doesn't matter if you're melee or ranged. I feel like it requires a lot of skill to make sure that you know what you're doing to execute perfect rotation, and also to not waste any charges of Ice Fury. Now, I want to show you exactly how I am bursting. Now, first thing first, you're gonna see now how I play Ice Fury build. Imagine this is a regular boss fight. As you can see, there's a pull timer, and before the pull timer I have precasted my Stormkeeper immediately at around 4-second mark. The reason why I precast at like 3 to 4 seconds, even like 5 seconds, is because if I precast earlier, I'm gonna end up wasting those Stormkeeper charges because of my haste, because of the ability of casting, for example, first Fade Transfusion, which is again a long cast to cast, right? If you're Necrolord, you don't care about that one, you can precast at like 6 seconds, completely fine. If you're Night Fae, 3 to 4 seconds. Now if you don't know what build I'm playing, exact conduit, I recommend you to check up the first, the guide, the part 1 of the guide, which I'm explaining there: conduits, builds, talents, legendaries, and so on and so on and so on. This is just gonna be rotation guide, how I do my rotation, which is again, most of you have requested that. Alright, so let's begin. Look at that. Pre-pulling on exactly 2 seconds or second and a half of the pull, you wanna precast Elemental Blast. Elemental Blast into Flame Shock, or if you're Necrolord, Elemental Blast into Primordial Wave. Now, after this is done, you will be casting your Elemental here. That is where, for example, you Lust, you use your Trinket, your Potion, your Elemental, and you start bursting. Now, as soon as I finish my Elemental Blast into Flame Shock, I am casting, as you can see, I'm already casting my Bloodlust. Usually people will cast Bloodlust for you, but I usually do it myself in the raid, so that's why I'm used to it. As soon as I cast my Bloodlust, I am pressing, as you can see, my Elemental as soon as it's out. Look at this, Elemental is out, and I'm pressing my Trinket, which is Dreadfire Vessel. Now, most of you is gonna have different trinkets, that's fine. Any trinket on use will do the job. In my case, that's gonna be Dreadfire, and that is exactly when you press your potion as well. Now, mine is on cooldown, unlucky, but if you had your potion here, you press your potion as well. You press pretty much everything. Now, as soon as that is out, you wanna be casting a so what I did right now is I casted first a Lava Burst into Fade Transfusion, because empowering Fade Transfusion is very important. Now, if you don't know the list of empowerments, what to empower first, you should check out the first video, because there I'm explaining exactly what to empower. But because I never mentioned Fade Transfusion, I'm gonna mention it today. Fade Transfusion, in my opinion, is number 1 or 2 to empower. I always prefer to empower Stormkeepers first, but Fade Transfusion every minute and a half to 2 minutes, depending if you have a conduit, and I believe it is very powerful to empower. So I will go with number 2 in the priority list to empower. Always make sure that you cast Lava Burst before your Fade Transfusion to get the Master Elements proc. Now, the reason why I'm casting the Fade Transfusion is because look at this. I'm getting those mastery stacks of invigoration, I believe it's called, which is the Nia mastery, right? Every time you cast Night Fae ability, which is Fade Transfusion, you're getting those stacks, which will enable you to hold them for 30 seconds, which again, your burst is around like 35 to 40 seconds with your Elemental. So that is the reason why I press my Fade Transfusion immediately after I press my Elemental. So again, if you're Necrolord, you don't care about that part, you're just gonna do Elemental Blast Flame Shock into, Elemental Blast Primordial Wave into Lava Burst, Stormkeeper, Lava Burst, Stormkeeper. In my case, as you can see, right now I'm going to be casting Fade Transfusion because of it. Now, after the Fade Transfusion, I want to make sure I empower every single Stormkeeper. So Lava Burst into Stormkeeper, and then I got a proc, so I'm going to now do a Lava Burst. Actually, okay, I just used the Earthshock because I'm running Wind Speaker, which means I'll get a back-to-back Lava Burst, but I could have used my Lava Burst here. Stormkeeper, Lava Burst, Elemental Blast, and from now on you make sure to empower as many spells as possible. That is your opener. Many people cast in the beginning Ice Fury and they're just like, oh, when am I casting my Ice Fury? First you consume your Stormkeeper charges with Master of the Elements, you cast your Elemental Blast again, and then you use Ice Fury. As you can see now is where I'm using it. There you go. Now I'm empowering every Earth Shock. Lava Burst, Ice Fury. Lava Burst, Ice Fury. Lava Burst, Earth Shock now. Boom. Lava Burst, Elemental Blast. Well, actually in this case, Ice Fury, because I was about to run out. As you can see, I empowered 3 out of 4 Ice Fury charges, and I did not waste a single charge while maintaining my DPS. And now look, instead of casting Elemental Blast off cooldown, I'm gonna wait a second to get my Lava Burst so I can empower that Elemental Blast, right? Because I still have a 60 Maelstrom to generate, so that is the reason why I don't cast immediate Elemental Blast, right? Because I have a room leeway. Now, if this was, for example, let's say you had like a 90 Maelstrom, then obviously overcapping Maelstrom is never gonna be the case. Now, remember something. It's always better to not empower your spells, but never cap on Maelstrom, than empower your spells and wait like 1 to 2 seconds here and there, and then you're gonna sit on like a full Maelstrom. It's so bad. Make sure that you never ever sit on full Maelstrom. And from here onwards, it's just standard rotation. As you can see, Elemental Blast is up, so I'm gonna be casting with Master Elements. And as soon as I cast that, look what I'm doing. Instead of like, for example, casting Insta Earth Shock, I still have some leeway. I have like a 82 Maelstrom right now, and if I cast 2 Lightning Bolts, I would be able, for example, to get to like almost 100, which gives me, it's not cap, it's almost 100, which means I can possibly wait for Lava Burst to empower my Earth Shock. So that is the reason why, for example, I cast here a Lightning Bolt. But again, I'll cast it once again. I did not get a proc, so I'm gonna go Insta Earth Shock, which means I don't want to cap anymore. Lava Burst into Lightning Bolt. Now Lightning Bolt is the last to empower, by the way. Lava Burst into Earth Shock right now, and then Lava Burst again, and then you proceed normal rotation. And you see, every time I have Master, I try to empower something. I don't cast back-to-back Lava Bursts. You always want to empower something. There we go. That's pretty much how to play Ice Fury. Again, it's a standard rotation. To get back to you. TLDR, what is the most important things to remember is make sure that you always remember to never ever waste Maelstroms. So never sit 100 Maelstrom, never. Make sure that you consume as many charges of Ice Fury as possible. I usually use them to like move free left and right, you know, swapping positions, dodging abilities. Those are very useful. And one more thing, empower as many spells as possible. Not all of them, because it's impossible, but as many as possible. I usually have between I would say 85 to 90% empowerment, which means like I barely miss a proc here and there, right? So that's what you can do. Alright, so this is going to be how to play Primal Elementalist build. Now this is the build I recommend to every single Shaman that is inexperienced in a raid, that has like little to no knowledge in raiding. I even recommend this to intermediate players if they're not confident in Ice Fury. Now let me tell you something, if you decide to play Ice Fury, perfectly fine, it's slightly better in terms of DPS, but remember this, if you don't play the spec correctly, if you don't consume your Ice Fury charges correctly, you're gonna lose DPS. Primal Elementalist is a passive talent. No matter how bad you are, you're still gonna benefit from it because of the elemental, because of the power of the elemental, right? So keep that in mind. If you think that you're new to the Shaman, inexperienced in raiding, maybe even intermediate, doesn't matter, you might want to play Primal Elementalist because it's way easier to play and it's super powerful. The difference is very small. If Ice Fury, let's say it's right here, Primal Elementalist is like this one, you know, it's like small difference, maybe like around 150 DPS or so, like even, I'm not sure exactly, it's the kind of a napkin mat, but around this area, even it could be even less, could be even more, but yeah, again, if you're not confident, don't play that. Alright, as you can see now, I'm precasting my Stormkeeper this time around. Same thing, right? You precast on like 34 seconds. I usually do that always, not earlier. And as soon as I finish that, look what I'm gonna do. Elemental Blast again with Flame Shock. Now, if you're Necrolord, you can do Elemental Blast into Primordial Wave, right? So it does matter if you're, let's say, Necrolord, if you're you know, Night Fae, but again, that's why we are all different. So as soon as I cast that, I'm gonna again cast my elementals here. As you can see, elemental, I casted my bloodlust here. You're gonna see again trinket casting. You have to look right here, just look at this corner. I casted my trinket, and now watch this. I'm gonna cast here my potion, and from here onwards, I've casted everything, right? They're all on different bindings, but if you're not confident, you can probably do like a one-shot macro. Like, cast Elemento, cast Trinket, cast Potion, cast Bloodlust, but again, I don't like this kind of macros, so I don't do it myself, but up to you. Now, immediately after this, look what I would do. Lava Burst into, again, Fey Transfusion. Why is the reason? Is because you're gonna get Invigoration. As you can see, the passive trait from Nia, giving you mastery. More mastery you have, the more overload procs back to back you're gonna get, the more damage you're gonna do in your burst. That is why I do it every single time. So as soon as I do Elemental Blast, Flame Shock, or Primordial Wave, I use my cooldowns, and then again again Lava Burst into Fey Transfusion. And after this, I'm gonna try to empower as many spells as possible. Now, Lava Burst into Stormkeeper. Whoa, I should have Stormkeeper here, but Lava Burst again into Earthshock, because I don't know why I did Earthshock here, because I'll get a back-to-back proc most likely. And now, because I don't have enough time to consume my Stormkeepers, I'm gonna press 2 Stormkeepers back-to-back. Now, here was a little bit mistake, small mistake. Instead of casting the Lava Burst, I should have casted my Stormkeeper. But as you can see, even I do mistakes sometimes. It's natural, right? Sometimes you just space out, you just get confused, and it's perfectly fine, not a big deal. So double Stormkeeper back to back, which is not ideal by the way, but it is what it is. Now, because I didn't have a Lava Burst, I'm gonna cast my second Elemental Blast while waiting into Lava Burst, Earthshock Empowerment, Refresh. There you go. Lava Burst into Flame Shock, and now Lightning Bolt, Lightning Bolt, Lightning Bolt. Lava Burst is ready. Lava Burst, Earthshock. Earthshock is gonna proc Lava Surge, Elemental Blast, Lava Surge, Earthshock, Lava Surge, Lightning Bolt, Lava Burst, Earthshock, Lava Surge. There you go. See, back-to-back procs. So if you don't have Lava Surge or Lava Burst, you get cast Lightning Bolt. If you get a proc, you press the proc, then press the Lightning Bolt. If you have the Earthshock, make sure you empower Earthshock with Lightning Bolt, with Lava Burst, Lava Surge. Pretty easy, right? It's just a matter of like keeping the momentum, keeping the tempo in, right? And that is exactly what I'm trying to teach you right now. Making sure that you remember, hey, you know what? I have a Master of the Elements. If I have that, I don't want to cast again Lava Burst. I want to empower that Master of the Elements with, let's say, Lightning Bolt, or Earthshock, or Stormkeeper, or a Transfusion, something, right? You never want to cast back-to-back Lava Bursts. You want to make sure that you empower them. Primal Elementalist burst is much higher than, by the way, than Ice Fury. But Ice Fury sustained second target is better. So that's pretty much the rotation of the Primal Elementalist. Hope you guys enjoyed it. As I already mentioned in the beginning, you guys have requested this a long time ago. So, you ask for it, you got it, right? Anything you guys ask for it, I make sure I got time for you guys. All right. So if you guys like the video, make sure to go down, say something nice in the comments, subscribe, and also obviously like the video. It's gonna help us out grow, and it's also gonna help me motivate me to make a lot more videos every single tier about Shaman, Mythic Plus rating. Whatever you guys are interested, hear my insights and stuff like this. Again, I'm gonna mention it on Patreon. I'm gonna be posting a lot more detailed guides about stuff like runes, anima powers, and like how to play exactly boss to boss builds and tips. Those kind of small niche stuff. So you guys wanna check that out below. I'm gonna link my Patreon so you can check out all the articles. And one last thing, I'm gonna be including very soon boss to boss kind of detailed orientated guide from boss 1 to boss 10, how to play each boss on mythic, so you can get the maximum amount of parses on mythic bosses or even heroic bosses to be able to sure you secure your high parses for the season. So thank you for watching, appreciate you guys being around, and yeah, have a good one. Bye for now.